This is Angela with Infectious Magazine, here with Action Item. How are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Now, you guys have been doing a short sort of documentary tour where you're screening until it's over, and then you're doing a Q&A and acoustic set, and it's the coolest thing. I wish more bands would do that. It's unique, and it shows fans a different side. So how did you even, how did you sort of get to this point, and what has been one of the more surprising aspects of this entire experience, since it is so unique?
Well, I think we try to interact with our fan base as personal as possible. I think that's where we've gotten to where we are as a band, because of how personal we are with our fans. And I think by doing this, it really sheds light on who we are as people, musicians, and friends. And I think above all, that's who we are, friends. So I think this documentary will show our our inner relationships, how we work, how we act as people to each other. It shows the real side of us. You have
like a mischievous grin there.
Yeah. It's nothing bad. It's a really honest documentary, and I think it really shows who we are as people, and we're not afraid to show the world that too. So it's very geared towards fans. So if you're a fan of our band, you're probably a diehard fan if you're here. So this should make you happy, hopefully.
Yeah, I was noticing that the license plate in front of me was from Connecticut.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. And so on that same note, you've mentioned before as well how important that personal contact with your fans is, but also keeping that level of professionalism that you need to within the industry.
Yeah.
So what else have you done and do you plan to do to, just balance that out and have that level of intimacy while still being professional?
That's a very good question. I think I think we run our own ship as of now, and that's the beauty of it. We have acquired a new management team, new radio team. We have pretty much everything but a label, so we are our own bosses. And I think right now that's what makes it great as far as fan interaction and playing shows and doing stuff like this. Like, we don't need approval except from ourselves. And even when we do sign, because we do plan to, and we take the next step as a band, I think in anything that we do, we're going to make sure that we're able to be very personal with the fans and still keep that relationship there. Because I know sometimes after, I hear horror stories of people signing and it's not the same, and it's not even their control. It's outer controls that kind of keep people from doing that. And that's the one thing, and I promised everybody that we're going to try to keep a hold of.
Well, I think it just makes it all the more impressive that you guys have been able to get this far, do this much by yourselves. And I mean, you're your own harshest critic. So
thank you.
If you can do it, then
yeah, I think that's very true. Yeah.
And you've done a few, house and basement shows, and I used to go to those shows all the time when I was younger, and I miss that type of show.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're dying out. Do you have any plans to continue with? Just smaller intimate shows. Even this is kind of like a smaller.
Yeah, I think this is an example of what we plan on doing eventually in the future, if we can still do smaller stuff. And I think the small stuff will always be there. But I think the point where we are in this band, I think if we get put in front of as many people as possible, I think that's the goal right now. But the small stuff will always be there. Like we love doing surprise shows at home. Surprise shows in different parts of the country, which we might be doing in the fall. So the small stuff will definitely always be there. That's nothing to fret about for all the fans.
So along that same message, what other sort of golden industry tactics or events do you think have faded out that you wish might have stayed around a bit longer?
Let's see. Well. By golden industry tactics, what do you?
I know. I was thinking about this phrase. I was like, that could go either way.
I would just say outright bluntly, like.
Yeah. Well, sort of when when they have the golden era of films and things were a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's nostalgic. So what are you nostalgic for?
Oh, that's a good question. I think actually being able to go into a record store and buy a CD. That was one of my favorite things to do. When I was little. I think the first CD I ever bought. Was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, and I was actually in Poland at the time visiting my family, and the Crazy Town CD. So it's weird. I think just the whole dynamic of going into a store and physically buying your music and being happy that you acquired something physically Where now it's like, okay, a song can be put out digitally, and it just doesn't mean as much to people. I think that's why people aren't as connected to music now. Music's more or less a background kind of thing to whatever else is going on. People don't sit down anymore and focus on music like they did, I guess, in the 80s or 90s. And I think that's what I miss the most about it. People don't appreciate it for what it is, rather what it can be used to accentuate. I think that's one of the problems that I think that we face. But you know, it is what it is, and we're adapting with the industry, and we're trying to think of new ways to market ourselves through that, and it's working so far, I think. So, yeah.
How do you feel about the idea that music and musicians are raising today's generation, and what does that mean for you?
Let's see. It's funny. There's just it changed so much. I think it's still changing. I think the industry will always change, and I think for people to really get heard and people to really listen, nowadays it's really just up to the artist to make the push. I know people are stuck in some deals, or people are stuck in some contracts that they can't get out of, and they can't reach to some fans. You know, I have some friends firsthand who are just in weird places because of decisions they've made that have put them in that spot. So I think as far as the industry changes, music will change, and so do people's attitudes toward it. I think the best remedy for people sticking with you as an artist, people believing you, kind of going back to it again, is the personality of the band. I think the band has to really get the personalities out there, because what do I care if 5 other kids come along and sing and dance when I have band X and band Y and band Z? Like, what makes that band different? Like, why should I connect with them? I think that's really important for some starting out, and us and people who are continuing. I think that's so vital to really keep people interested in you and what you are, instead of just like, okay, here's some cool songs.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And then just a few closer questions. What is your guilty pleasure?
Recently, ice cream.
That's not a guilty pleasure, though. Really? Guilty pleasure is like, you have to be embarrassed, but nobody's embarrassed about ice cream. Everyone
that's true.
It.
I love ice cream, you're right. Guilty pleasure. Jesus. That's tough. What am I embarrassed about? A lot, usually. I should be embarrassed about a lot. I guess, I'm not really totally embarrassed, but my first crush was Britney Spears, and I made.
Are you regretting that now?
No, still no. I might have her greatest hit CD. I don't know.
I think it's in my closet. I wish it wasn't. And then, what is one question you'd like to be asked but never have been, and what's the answer?
Let's see. I've never been asked. That's kind of tough. Where do you get all your shoes from? I guess. And I could say with the advice of my dad, because my dad, for some reason, is the biggest shoe connoisseur I've ever met in my life. So whenever I come home from tour or whatever with like a new pair of shoes, or recently we did a video shoot. I had to buy a new pair of shoes for the shoe and photos and everything. Came back home, my dad's like, "Where'd you get those from?" I was like, "Oh, store, whatever." And he's like, "Well, why don't you consult me?" I'm like, "What, am I gonna call you and send you photos of every shoe I buy, Dad? Be real."
It's kind of nice, though.
It's nice of him, but he's a shoe communist. He's a shoe communist. So, yeah.
And then, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you to you guys for interviewing me and giving me this opportunity, and to all our fans. They're amazing, and they really, put us in this movie theater today. So
thank you very much.
Anytime. Thank you.